Okay, we're shooting straight from the hip here. No script, we just, we just going off of like prompt and like plot points. A line of Coke, 2 bottles of water, and a Monster energy drink. I am ready to start this video. When I initially saw the trailer for Intergalactic, I was intrigued, but I wasn't pressed to see it or anything, I'll be honest with you. The animation looked nice, but I'm also not like a big movie guy. Needless to say, I watched Intergalactic, and I will say I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Not at its faults though, not without its faults is what I'm trying to say. Intergalactic had some faults where the writing is concerned. I felt like some of the characters felt very two-dimensional. I didn't care for some of the people. I didn't know why he didn't fuck with his ex-girlfriend the way he didn't fuck with his ex-girlfriend. And his friends, his dogs, they didn't fuck with his ex-girlfriend either. And I wanted to know why. There was a point where Meadow's best friend and her husband got out of a taxi, and she immediately tells her husband she wants another champagne, but like they just got there, like they just got to the event. I can't remember the best friend's name, but I know she's voiced by Vanessa Hudgens. So that is what I remember. Apart from that, this was a beautiful show. This was a first I guess the first time I'm experiencing a marriage like this, where the visuals and the music is concerned, and it blended so nicely. And if anyone was to be the first person to create an art form, to create a movie, an album of this format, it will definitely be Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi was one of the more visual artists I experienced growing up, especially starting from his music videos with Day and Night, and I still have that video like baked into my head. That was such a strange time, and not to take away anything from Busta Rhymes with whatever the hell Busta Rhymes was doing, because that deserves a whole other video essay by itself, talking about Busta Rhymes and his visuals and the aesthetic that he built during that time. That's very impressive, but strange at the same time. But before I continue, see the shy thing you're playing where you come, you watch a video, you may have enjoyed it, and you go about your life? Enough of that. You see that red thing to the bottom there, the little red box? Give it a little rub, a little touch, flirt with it a little bit, but press that button, press the like button, press the subscribe button, press it. Intergalactic followed Jabari, surname we don't know, who moved to Manhattan after getting a position at Cosmo Comics. This position was appointed to him after his comic graffiti of Mr. Rager became popular enough to grab the attention of this corporation, and they are now hiring him to create a comic from his character. There he meets Catherine, can't remember her name, but while getting Chinese on his way home, he met his ex-girlfriend in Manhattan, and here's where the story kind of begins. I resonate with Jabari. I really do. I resonate with Jabari on a deep spiritual level. Not just because we share the same name, but also we share the same love, lust, and desire for the big forehead gal them. The Intergalactic is a psychedelic love story. That's the best way I could put it. Nope, a psychedelic artsy love story, and it's a bit of fantasy too, because I don't know any artist or I don't know any comic artist living in an apartment like that. Not knocking him, not saying it's not realistic, I just haven't seen it. The movie was released on September the 30th, which will be important a little later on. The movie and the album, and it was animated by DNEG Animations, or DNEG Animations, and the aesthetic heavily resembles that of previous shows such as Spider-Man Into the Spideyverse, like I mentioned before, and Arcane, which is a really fucking good show. Like, if you've seen Arcane, listen to me, I'm talking to you. If you have not seen Arcane, go and watch Arcane. Arcane is good. Created by Kid Cudi and Kenya Barris, the show follows the semi-love triangle between Jabari, Meadow, and Catalina, Camille. I don't remember her name though. One thing that stood out to me a lot was all the shoes that I spotted. This show was a sneakerhead dream, or like a sneakerhead Easter egg. And I'm not a sneakerhead, but I spot a few of the shoes in the movie, starting with the Yeezy Quantum, which was interesting to see because Kanye West's relationship with both Kid Cudi and Virgil Abloh has been shattered even before Virgil Abloh passed away. But yet still you see one of his shoes highlighted to this point, immortalized through animation, especially when neither Kid Cudi nor Virgil Abloh had to, because Virgil has many many shoes with Nike, with Off-White, and with Louis Vuitton. And Kid Cudi has shoes with Adidas. Moving on with the shoes, the first shoe that really caught my attention was the Rick Owens Geo Baskets, the OG Rick Owens Geo Baskets, worn by Kai, voiced by Ty Dolla $ign in the movie. As most of you here will already know, the OG Rick Owens Geo Baskets, also referred to as the Rick Owens Dunks, was discontinued because Nike, I believe, dropped a lawsuit on Rick Owens because he pulled a lot of inspiration from the Nike Dunks. That's why the OG ones, if you look carefully, you see a resemblance of a swoosh on the side of it, whereas the new Dunks, the new Geo Baskets no longer have this particular swoosh. It's just like a kind of triangle looking design, which isn't bad, but I can't help think about the OG and how beautiful that shoe was constructed. The Adidas Vadawam 326 Kid Cudi was also another shoe that made a lot of appearances throughout this show, and this is actually what I thought the character Jabari would have worn the most, but it ended up being the Yeezy Quantums. We saw this in two colorways. Okay, speeding through the rest of these. We saw the Vans Old Schools in multiple colorways. We saw Yeezy Slides worn by Jabari. We saw the Adidas Stan Smiths worn by Meadow. We saw the Nike Off-White Rubber Dunk Green Strike worn by Jabari. We saw Nike Dunks. We saw the Jaden Smith X New Balance Vision Racer. And this was particularly cute. This was like a nice touch because the person that wore the Jaden Smith Vision Racer by New Balance was the character Jordan, and Jordan was voiced by Jaden Smith. So it was a nice little wink at the viewers that got it. We saw Gucci Prince Tongs, which I refer to as Fuzzy Loafs, and we saw the Bottega Veneta Chunky Chelsea boot. I'm not sure about this one. This is me speculating. But if you look at the 070 Shake voice character, the other artist that was on that kind of like high hippie vibes, that did like the sculptures of like pizza and shit like that, she was wearing some chunky boots that looked like the Bottega Veneta Chunky Chelsea boot. And I also think this because once again in the Into the Zeitgeist series, we look at the time in which the show was shot, and within this 2019, 2018, 2020 phase, this shoe was extremely popular. So I can very well see this being the boot that was referenced within the show. Kai was also wearing what I believe to be some SLP Camel Chelsea boots. I don't know which particular kind, but if I had to bet, I would say it's SLP, and I would say that it's Chelsea boots. And lastly, some random nigga was wearing some Adidas Sambas. I find it pretty interesting that all three of them represent three different facets, or three separate facets of the streetwear, street fashion genre of like aesthetic. Starting with Jabari. Jabari very much represents that simple sneaker reseller or sneaker retailer employee that has like really nice hyped shoes, but the rest of the outfits are, fine. Like joggers, hoodies, maybe a jacket here and there, but for the most part, this is what you're getting from this person with some hyped shoes. With Kai, you get this designer infused streetwear archetype, the Lenny Kravitz influenced streetwear aesthetic of street fashion, which I liked seeing a lot. I liked seeing him in the Rick Owens Geo Baskets with the skinny jeans and the leather jacket. That could either be a SLP jacket, it could be a Celine jacket. What I'm trying to say here is very much a Hedy Slimane inspired jacket. And lastly, Jimmy, who represents this kind of refined skatewear aesthetic, where like he wears a lot of Vans, he wears a lot of like slim jeans, and he wears a lot of like vintage tees or tees that I could definitely see being Kith Jound or Aimé Leon Dore. This entire show really is like a window into an aesthetic that we have kind of left behind, or an aesthetic that has evolved since 2019, 2018, 2020. Many pieces that we see now we did not see at all within this movie. The booming rise of Gorpcore wasn't seen within this movie. Flares wasn't really seen within this movie. Fitted hats, tote bags, and masks wasn't seen within this movie. And it's pretty interesting to see how that time was now encapsulated within this movie, just like a typical live action movie, you know. But also we get to see some of the pieces that would then go on to be bigger staples or like bigger fashion trends within current times. We get to see dunks, we get to see eyewear, and we get to see leather, all in its earlier stages than where it is right now, and that's pretty interesting to me. I'm super impressed by what I saw within Entergalactic. Not saying that they push the envelope of what fashion is and animation, yes but no. What I meant was I just really enjoyed how real the characters felt, and a lot of this was credited to the fashion and the clothing that these these characters wore. Something simple like changing an outfit within a show gives you a depth of feel of the character. And when you see reoccurring pieces, so you see the same shoes with different pants, you see the same shoes with different tops, you see the same pants with different shoes, like you feel like the character is planning their outfit when the day comes. And I really enjoyed the subtle addition to the show. The costume design was done by Virgil, and it's strange to say costume design for an animated show, but that's kind of what it is. There were no fabric testing, there were no costume testing like in the real world, but of course there were costume testings done via animations. That you had to try this top, you had to try this shoe, you had to switch out this jacket for this other jacket, maybe put in the hoodie, try a crop top. Like, testing was definitely done, and you can tell a lot of time and effort went into this. It's a bittersweet moment getting to see one of the many things Virgil was working on, but the bitter part is this was only the beginning. It feels like he was opening another window of like the childish, youthful play that he was exploring at Louis Vuitton. A lot of his collections had this childish, youthful, high-spirited aura about it. Even his very first his second, well, his first as well, with like the rainbow runway. I can't remember there, but one of my favorite collections from him, and I always say, is when he did it at Place Dauphine. I believe that was spring summer 2020. I could be wrong, but I think it's about that time. And it just hit me that was around the same time that Intergalactic started its creation or its production. It was around 2019 is what I heard from Kid Cudi during an interview. Via interviews I watched and read, Kid Cudi and Kenya Barris and other individuals recall Virgil actually using runway pieces, or runway, what is the word I'm looking for? Runway looks as inspiration for a lot of the outfits that we saw within this show. There were a lot of fashion references within this show. There was references of Valentino dresses. There was references of a lot of off-white pieces, understandably so. There were Louis Vuitton pieces, there were Gucci pieces. The creator, Kenya Barris, was actually animated close to the end of the movie. He was like the moderator at the studio, and he was seen wearing a Fendi jacket, and I thought that was a cool touch. I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed feeling engulfed in the world through the animation and the music. This isn't without its faults, but I really enjoyed this movie. This is a movie I'll go back to for like a comfort watch. Maybe turn on and not think about too much. And I really enjoyed sitting down and finding all the pieces, all the fashion pieces on all these sneakers that I could find. It was like a cool little bingo. I don't know. I've never played bingo. I didn't do a lot of script writing. I just watched it a few times. I wrote some quick notes and I said, fuck it, I'm gonna record. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. This has been another video by Nighttime Studios, written, recorded, edited in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for watching.